careful. Uh-oh. He suspects me. My cover is blown. Let's go into battle mode. Try to hit him right in his snoot. There we go. Hey guys, it's Adam aka Swimming Bird, and welcome to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild on Nintendo Switch. This is part 3, so if you missed anything so far, please catch up with the links down in the description. Last time we entered our first shrine and completed the trial to unlock the Magnesis rune for our Sheikah Slate. And then I somehow managed to take down a couple of those terrifying Decayed Guardians by reflecting their beam attacks back at them. Those are one-hit kills early on, so they can be pretty scary, but we survived, and we're entering our second shrine. To you who sets foot in the shrine, I am Jabaj. In the name of the goddess Hylia, I offer this trial. And this is the bomb trial, something very familiar for anyone who knows Zelda. But these bombs are quite a bit different, quite a bit more useful, I would say, compared to previous titles. Sheikah Slate Authenticated, Distilling Rune. So weapons can break in this game, of course, weapons and shields and bows. Arrows are depletable and expendable, but bombs, you will have an unlimited amount of bombs thanks to it being a rune. The only thing you're limited by is how long it takes to recharge. And not only that, it's runes. There's 2 of them, but these are remote bombs. A bomb that can be detonated remotely. The force of the blast can be used to damage monsters or destroy objects. There are both round and cube bombs, so use whichever best fits the situation. And the rune is extracted, so let's begin. But yeah, because they are remotely detonated, it is much easier to time these bomb puzzles, and you don't have to worry about blowing yourself up as easy. But be careful with that too, because it is very, very simple to accidentally take out a bomb and then hit the button again to detonate while you're holding it. So you can take out a bomb with L, just like you're using a normal rune, and then you can hit A to set it down. The round ones will, of course, roll, and they'll be affected by weather as well, and you can see that little meter is starting to fill up now that the bomb has been detonated. But they're on different meters, so you can use one bomb and then switch to the other, so you have another one handy. If you want to dash, it will make the bomb go away, so that's an easy way to put it away without using it. And if you're running around, you can hit A to drop it behind you, and then that is a great way to explode any enemies on your trail. But be careful, some of them are smart enough to kick the bomb right back at you and do some damage. Traveler's Claymore, a basic 2-handed sword often wielded by aspiring adventurers. Its immense weight can knock enemies' shields right out of their hands. And I'm going to get rid of one of my Boko clubs. And a fast way to do it is just switch to it and then hit R to launch it. And if you're in the middle of combat, that's a great way to do some extra damage and get rid of an expendable weapon. But there we go. We got a nice 2-hander sword, which, like the axe, you got to, make sure you're careful because you're not using your shield. But it is very useful if you are going to ride on a horse, which we'll do pretty soon here. You can just gallop up and have enough time to prepare your attack. I also love how Link will aim his Sheikah Slate at the bomb to detonate it. So it's a nice little touch there that he has to kind of aim it in the right spot. Now the cube bombs, they don't seem as useful at first because they're not going to roll down hills towards enemies and stuff like that. But they are very useful if you don't want your bomb to move because they're less affected by weather and gravity. They've got those cubed corners, of course. So let's jump over here, and there's some pistons going. There's a strange orange orb there that will be useful later on for solving puzzles, but right now it's just kind of there to show us that bombs and even links can be launched from these pistons and fly pretty far. Luckily not far enough to take fall damage. And there we go, we got some hidden amber, which can be used to craft, and also you can sell it. A lot of ore in this game is very valuable, and that is one of the best ways to get rupees since you won't be finding them very often. But yeah, those launchers are pretty fun to fly around on. We don't have the old man's paraglider yet, so you gotta be a little careful. We can also put bombs into that little tube and launch it over, and because we can detonate it whenever we want, we can wait and hit it at just the right time. I could also jump over here and take a ride. It's not gonna get me to the ladder, and it is a little scary. But once we have the paraglider, it's not as scary to fly around because you have that safety net. But at this point, it can be a little terrifying to see Link launch through the air. And there we go. That is it for the bomb trial. And there's another monk here. I really like how the monks have unique poses, and some of them wear their hats, some of them don't. Your resourcefulness in overcoming this trial speaks to the promise of a hero. So they have different stuff to say, too, depending on the puzzle or challenge in the trial. In the name of the goddess Hylia, I bestow upon you this spirit orb. So we've got our second of 4 that we need to get off the plateau and also to get a special reward. Now Link is not quite as shocked. He's a little used to it. And you can kind of skip these once you get to the point where you know the gist of it. But again, they do have different dialogue, and it is a little sad. May the goddess smile upon you. That these guys are so cool, and then they fulfilled their duty. They just become little beads of light. But that is part of their trial, is to help out the hero along the way. Okay, and there's tips on the loading screens, which are kind of cool. We haven't seen too many loading screens yet, but you can hit A to go between them. Teach you about shield surfing, which is very fun to do, and we'll do that pretty soon here when we go up on the mountain. Now, that is one way we could head, but I'm going to go a different way, maybe a little unorthodox way of completing the trials, but there's some really cool stuff to see if you kind of go out of order. And now that we can blast through there, we don't need to use a Guardian Beam or do anything tricky. There is another Decayed Guardian over that way, but I'm not going to press my luck and mess with him. I did want to go over here, though, because if you find any bodies of water, it is worth using your Magnesis Rune near it and make sure that you're not missing any chests and whatnot. Just be careful not to drop it on little Link. There we go. Got some more amber. So I'm going to head over towards this other shrine. This is probably the one that will attract your eye next after you've done the bomb trial. But it is a little tough to get up to because you have to climb your way up that cliff. So I'm actually going to go over here and do some cool stuff. We're going to fight some enemies. But also, I would like to go around through the forest. We're going to teleport back to the Magnesis trial. We'll go through the forest, up the mountain, and then you can drop down on that shrine up there rather than having to climb up the cliff, use a ton of stamina and time to try to climb up. I felt like that would be a little too slow for the video, so I'm going to, rather than climb up, I'll show you what it looks like, but I'm not going to do that. We can get down a little easier another way. We got some Bokoblins here, and if you're paying attention, all these little groups are teaching you ways to take them out. There's a beehive over there, and I think I got one last arrow with this bow before it breaks. I'm going to hit the hive. Oh, no, we got one other shot. And now that the bees are mad, they're going to seek out anyone that they think might have done them wrong and knocked their hive down. So they're going to chase after that bokoblin, and I'm going to go over here and steal the hive. It's some coarser bee honey, so that's used for cooking, and we'll get into that before too long. And they're kind of freaking out. We'll let the bees maybe do some damage. Eventually the bees will give up, though, and we're going to have to take these guys out. But now we have an advantage over them because they don't have any weapons, and their weapons are over here. So I can take them down quick and even steal their stuff if we wanted to, but nothing too great. Just a nice little tutorial on how to use bees against your foes. I'm going to crack open some of these crates, though, because as many arrows and stuff as we can get early on is definitely going to help us out in the long run. So over here is this little birch forest, and you might notice some birds around. I don't think I have any meat, so I got to be careful and see if I can spot a bird to get some, because it is very crucial for a little quest that I have at least a little bit of meat to cook with. And there's a house over here, a mysterious house in the middle of the woods. And it's very peaceful, though. There's a couple of bokoblins living around, but it's nice that even in these trying times with Calamity Ganon, there can be peace and and refuge in the wilderness. There we go. Let's use the last arrow on this bow to take down that bird. That one is probably the easiest one to get because it's sitting right there in front of you, and I got a raw bird drumstick. We could pick up a pot lid, probably the weakest shield in the game. The lid of a large soup pot. It smells vaguely of poultry broth. Yum! It can take quite a beating before breaking. It's not really that great, though, and it looks a little silly. I'm just actually going to drop it and not use up that slot. Accidentally whistled. We don't need that yet, but if you hit down, you can whistle. And there's a torch there. Before it gets too late, well, it's actually pretty early in the day. Let me go explore. This is a familiar character's living quarters. It's the old man. It's his diary. The old man's diary. Let's read it while he's not here.
On this desolate plateau, the only pleasure that brings me comfort is cooking. And today I outdid myself. Truly, I created the perfect dish. I call it spicy meat and seafood fry. This recipe not only restores health, but it also keeps me warm, even when traveling in the snowy mountains. With this dish on my side, I no longer have need of that itchy, warm doublet. I do not know how I allowed this to happen, but it seems I forgot to write down a very important recipe. I know it contained raw meat and spicy pepper, however. I simply cannot remember what else I used. My age is catching up with me. Sadly, on this lonely plateau, I have only my own knowledge and memory to rely on. Still, if I did find someone who knew the missing ingredient, I would happily reward them with my warm doublet. However, it seems unlikely that such a miraculous wish will ever be fulfilled.
So there's some hints there We're gonna grab a couple spicy peppers here, used for cooking, and it has a hint that that will help you in the cold. And there should be another one in this pot here. I'm gonna start wearing down my bokoblin stuff there so we can get some new stuff. I might even get rid of it because this axe is much better. Not actually as much damage, but the axe will last longer because you got metal, of course. And I'll grab as much stuff as I can steal from this guy. I feel a little bad about it. But yeah, so that is a hint that we need to cook something. And let's get into cooking here. It's pretty easy to do. You just hold ingredients in your hands. You can hold up to 5. And if I just put, a couple apples in here and cooked them up, then we'll get something that is usually better than the sum of its parts. Like apples restore half a heart, but we get 2 hearts from simmering fruit. So there we go. You want to take what you got and cook it. Now, the rules are you want to cook with food, and then things like critters, like if we got this butterfly, we don't want to cook with that. We'll mess up our dishes with that. You want to cook that with monster parts to get elixirs. So if I was to cook this butterfly with, maybe let's do a fang, and then we'll pop those 2 together, we can get an elixir instead. And once you are having enough fun watching the cooking animation, you can hit X to skip it there. This is a spicy elixir, so that'll be useful if we're exploring the snow, because it does give us a little cold resistance. And when you have something cooked, it'll go into food, and you can click it, and before eating it, you can even look at the recipe to see exactly how you made this stuff. But it doesn't keep track of recipes as a whole, so you gotta be careful and try to remember that. So let's take the bit of poultry that I got, the drumstick, a bass, and a spicy pepper, because he mentioned seafood, and that is the hint that you need a Hyrule bass or Hylian bass to cook in there. And now we will make the old man's special spicy meat and seafood fry. So it gives us a couple minutes of cold resistance and a nice boost in hearts, more than we can even use right now. And that's probably pretty good. We don't need too many dishes. The apples, if you wanted to make these, they're not that great. The baked apple's barely better than a normal one, but you can put them down near the fire. But we could make some other stuff. I am gonna stick to what we got. I could use, if we had a bow in our hand, I could use my, you wanna try to get a bow out and then you can switch between the bows. Could use some arrows to take out some birds, but I'm gonna scare them away, get some more meat there by doing hunting. Let's go talk to the old man. Gotta put a shield back on here after messing around with pot lids, and we'll see what he's up to.
Ha! Ha!
There he is.
Oh, fancy that. So we meet again.
What are you doing out here?
I thought this tree here might make for some good firewood. However, getting a tree to fall exactly where you wanted to is quite an art. Excuse me, I'm very old. The trick is to turn your hips so that they face where you want the tree to land. So, I see you found my axe. Why not help me out and give it a few swings? I've worked up quite a sweat here, but these bones could use a break.
So he's teaching us a little bit about how to chop trees down and where they're gonna fall if you chop them. There we go. And then once a tree is down, you can hit it again to get some wood, and that is useful to make a campfire, and you can use that to pass the time. You have to have a cooking pot to do cooking, though, on it, if you want to do what we just did. And these are big enough to actually bridge this gap here, and we can walk across them. Uh-oh, they're gonna crisscross there. But yeah, now that we have these kind of angled in the right way, I can use them to cross this gap and go see what those bokoblin are up to. He's gonna eventually head back. Oh, there he goes. And while he's doing that, I'm gonna head over here. There is a korok leaf, and this is not useful as a weapon. You might recognize that from the Wind Waker. But if let's just get rid of this club because it's about to break, and I'll take this. It is a good club, but I'd rather have a leaf for future adventures. That looks a little risky to try to go across the crisscrossing logs. So I'm gonna walk over this way and be kind of careful as we go over so we don't fall. Look at him balance a little bit as he runs. All right, so we're over. And if we wanted to climb up on those rocks, you can see it's way up there. We can get some good rust shrooms, but I think we're better off just trying to go a different way. I'm gonna be careful now, and he's gonna do his jump attack. If you give him enough room, they'll often do that jump attack for you, but spinning around the axe is a great way to smack him. And unfortunately, both of them fell off. We got his spear, though, so we can use that. I can't get their stuff, but that's all right. And now that we have bombs, there's a couple little spots around the world. There was one early on that we could blow up, but I'm gonna use this one here to get some secrets. There we go. But yeah, so the climbing way is the way I think you're meant to go. but I am going to go a different way because we want to go back and talk to the old man and get something that I actually missed when I was first messing around with this game. And my girlfriend Danielle found it because she was taking a little bit more time to explore this area and talk to the old man. I went straight up the mountain, and there's some different stuff you can do when you're up there. I was using food to try to do that, but if you go get the old man's help, he will make it so much easier on you to get up there and not have to worry about the cold so much. I'm gonna send that over so it's out of my way. All right. But yeah, the hint from that recipe is giving you a good idea of what he might be up to. I almost thought his house was on fire for a second because his his lantern was glowing pretty strong, and the cook fire looked a little bit like he might be having some burning problems on his cabin.
Oh, what is it?
What are you doing?
This body of mine isn't what it used to be. Recovering from a bout of hard work takes a while. If you're hungry, I have an empty pot you can use to cook yourself a meal. So we could get some tips on cooking. Let's ask him real quick. Simply open your inventory, grab hold of your ingredients, and toss them in. Try to consider how the ingredients will complement one another. You can even make a dish that increases your stamina. It's all about being creative and trying different things. Oh. So stamina dishes are pretty good in elixirs because they can help you if you're going to fall off of a cliff or something. You can save yourself by getting more stamina. If you're moved by any wild culinary inspirations, feel free to cook yourself a meal using my pot over here. So let's show him the spicy meat and seafood dish. Wait, is that? That looks just like my signature perfect dish. Spicy meat and seafood fry. Well, how did you? Well, I suppose that is not important. Can I trouble you to share the recipe?
Here you go. Link silently gives it to him.
Oh, of course, Hyrule Bass. How could I have forgotten? Well done. Now please allow me to reward your culinary efforts with this warm doublet.
And there we go. We got our first new shirt since the old shirt in the beginning. A warm pullover typically worn by mountain folk. Its sturdy fabric and thick gloves are great for retaining body heat.
With that, you will be able to resist a bite of colder environments. As for me, I know great spicy meat and seafood fried recipes, so I can do without that warm doublet.
He didn't really like it anyways. He said it was too itchy. So let's put that on here. We'll wear our Switch. I keep laughing about the Switch shirt. But there we go. And you can see on the side, under the temperature and the stamina, there's a little bit of cold resistance. So we have light cold resistance, meaning we will stay warmer up on that mountain there.
Oh, there are a few things as delightful as a roaring fire. Oh, if you still wish to acquire the paraglider, you must put in the effort. I will not simply give it away, you see.
So now that we have this, we are going to head back to that other shrine and go through the forest, because there's some cool stuff in the forest a lot of people might miss if they go straight up the mountain. But we'll do that on the next one. I'm going to finish up by sneaking around like a little snake in this barrel. This really reminds me of Wind Waker. And we can just kind of maneuver our way over. And got to be careful if they hear you. Oh, you can kind of drop down. Just stop moving, and the barrel will go over you a little bit. He doesn't seem to want to do it on a hill, so I got to be careful. Uh-oh. He suspects me. My cover is blown. Let's go into battle mode. Try to hit him right in his snoot. There we go. You got to hit him right. That's the good target to aim for their snouts, and then you can get a nice critical strike on them to take them down a little easier. Whoop, there we go. Jump to the side when they do that. Get that flurry rush that we showed last time. Sometimes I overhit the enemy on accident. You don't want to waste durability if you've already mostly taken them down. Got to be careful though, because we got somebody firing arrows at me. It's gonna be a little bit troublesome. If we had that pot lid, because it's actually a wooden shield, I could stand there and let him shoot a bunch of arrows into it, and then I'll get them for free without having to hunt them down. But the pot lid's not too durable, so not going to mess with that. And there we go. We have taken the Bokoblin camp. And I'm going to break some of these crates, get some rewards. The barrel was a nice idea and throwback to Wind Waker, but not all that useful. If they even see, a barrel moving slightly, then it seems like they're rather suspicious of you. So there we are. We got some loot, and there's something hidden over there. A throwing spear. So that's a specialized spear that is meant to be thrown. It won't actually last very long, but I've got, so much stuff. I think I'm going to just drop one of my swords that's about to break anyways, because it's only got 1 or 2 hits left in it after that fight. But yeah, the weapons are going to break very easily on the enemies at this point, but that's because a lot of them are not that great. And the idea is that you will be trying out a bunch of different stuff to see what you like. I could use, let's just, hit it with a fire arrow. I could use my torch to go bring the fire over to it. But there we go. And I gotta be a little careful here, though, because it's looking like these bees are not gonna be so happy with me. Let's see, what could we throw at these guys that would... Let's throw the spear. I don't want to use my throwing spear, but I'm gonna throw the Boko spear. And uh-oh, yep. And he's like, "Where's my weapon?" Let's be careful. Let's try the strat that I was just talking about. We're gonna drop a bomb and run and blast those bees out of here. I feel bad because bees are struggling right now in the world, but you know, this is a fantasy world where bees are very angry. Can't put them in a bottle or anything, but you gotta look out for them. We'll grab some treasure. There we go. And again, if you want to climb up the cliff, that is up to you. Bomb arrows, super useful and powerful. But I'm gonna go a different way. We are gonna finish up here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Next time, we take on the forest, find a mysterious enemy that is tough but definitely worth fighting, and then make our way up the mountain for some shield surfing and the end of the shrine trials to get off this place and go find ourselves a horse. I appreciate you guys sticking with me. Please leave a like if you enjoyed this. Maybe subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you next time for more Zelda. Goodbye.